Well, Jessica, thank you so much. Excited to have you on here. I love, what you're doing. It's such a unique concept and something that, you have a lot of fun with it. Very evident in your photos and videos, the excitement that comes out of it. And you, as I was saying, you make all these places that their food look really, really good. So.
I appreciate that. And the restaurants do some work too.
So, when we were talking about your story, you went from being a teacher, a math teacher of all things. And, we could talk about that in a second. And then transitioning into this world in which you created Cheat Day Eats. And now, is it 3 handles that you have?
Your room service and also Hot Buns Club.
Okay. And your room service is the room service inside of the hotels?
Yeah. So it's like a luxury experience, in-room dining. But it could also be, I will showcase like anything at the hotel in terms of like the culinary options.
And so you've been doing this for about 4 years now?
Yeah.
Or?
I think I've had Cheat Day Eats for about 5. And then room service came way later, probably 2 years ago. And same thing with Hot Buns Club, it's about 2 years.
So how does one go from being a teacher to, a massive, food critic?
Wow. It really just happened so naturally. So I still remember the day when I found out there was, Instagram and people are posting photos of food and thinking to myself, I'm not alone, because I think out of all my friends, I was the only one who was going to restaurants and taking photos of food like a crazy person. And realizing there was a whole food community here in New York City. I was excited to be a part of it. So at that point, I was taking photos on my phone, posting them. And that September, after I had started my Instagram account, my boyfriend, now fiance, got me a Sony camera. And it was like all of a sudden the game changed. Yeah. Like I was taking photos on it, super interested in learning more about what it meant to take a great photo, composition, angles, lighting. And so I really invested a lot of time in kind of the content I was creating for Instagram. And what was really cool was people were noticing.
Yeah.
And so the more people noticed, the more I felt like invested in my craft.
Right.
And so I really that's kind of how it started. And
so did you have a love for photography and food, or was it just kind of food, then the photography came kind of out of it?
So I think it's interesting. I've always been super interested in documenting things. Right. For example, I have books, in my room right now, photo books from whenever I was young, from middle school, high school, just books on books from albums of photos.
Right.
So I've always been interested in documenting it. And then I've always been interested in food. So it's, combining the two. But I was never that type of person. Like I never knew how to use a camera professionally up until I got the Sony. So yeah, I think it changed a little bit at that point.
So with Cheat Day Eats, you seem to be a very fit person. So for as much as you post about food, and I'm sure you have to indulge or sometimes overindulge.
Yes.
Yeah. How did that all come about?
Yeah, I've always been into fitness. So I actually, ever since I was a cheerleader in high school, and then I was just always interested in, training. And actually I was a personal trainer 10 years ago. So I got certified and I would plan my cheat days accordingly, all week long. It would have to be like, I would research restaurants, look at photos online and obsess over it really. Yeah. Because if God forbid, my cheat day did not go as planned. Like I would be upset. I really was.
Because that's your one day.
My boyfriend was like, "Oh, like
you better get this one right.
Yeah,
please,
seriously.
Be as good as she thinks it's going to be."
It's true, and now it's good because, like, if I go somewhere and it happens to not be up to like my standards, I could be like, "All right, I can take a bite and then move on to something else." Where back then it was like, I'm at the restaurant, it's not good. Oh my gosh, I'm so upset. Yeah. Now I have a little more freedom, knowing that I could put that spoon down and go somewhere else and have a different experience.
So are cheat days always just something unhealthy, or how would you define your cheat days? And maybe it's evolved over time.
It has evolved. I think back in the day, a cheat day meant I was gonna go all out.
You're going in.
It's like
bring it on.
Pastas, pizzas, burgers, Sunday, all in one day.
Yeah.
And just actually all day, basically. Like Sunday brunch, then I would go to lunch, and then I would go to dinner, and it would just be wild. And now it's kind of one of those things where if I'm going to cheat, I have to be a little more conscious because it happens often because it's my job.
Right.
And I'll be going to a few restaurants and I have to say to myself, I can have a bite of this hot fudge sundae, but maybe I shouldn't finish it, because tomorrow's another one. So I think it's actually a healthier mindset, knowing that you can indulge and not overindulge, and just be a little bit more conscious of how I feel. Am I full? Then I don't need to keep going, you know?
Do you find that, I'm sure a lot of people ask you about eating all the time, and, people are self-conscious about that sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it is important. There's a lot of people that have, been very outspoken about it, that you can eat something that maybe and indulge in something that maybe isn't as healthy, or a salad with, kale and this and that, and still maintain a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, I think it's all about balance for me. I'm a Libra, I'm very balanced. And I also want to tell people that I'm not eating what I'm posting at that point. So right now, I'm back in New York. I'm not traveling. I've been eating a lot healthier while I'm home, but I'm still posting maybe a pasta dish from Rome. So a lot of times when I go to a restaurant, they'll serve us multiple dishes, and I take a shot of every one, and I'll try every one so I can recommend it to someone, because my page is all about recommendations. But that doesn't mean that I finish that entire dish, And so I think it's, when anyone ever DMs me, messages me, I try to be as clear as possible. Like, this isn't my life. I'm not constantly eating cheat food. I'm actually eating really healthy. Like last night I had a salad, So it's like all about the balance, and telling people that this isn't for inspiration on your cheat day, where to eat. So that way that when you go to have your cheat day, you're not going to be disappointed.
Yeah, it's not a daily lifestyle.
Right, exactly.
Your recommended eating habits.
And I used to have the mindset of, if I had like one bad thing, everything's ruined. And then the rest of the day I would just keep eating like crap.
Just let yourself go.
It's like, you could have that one little bad thing and it's okay, because then you
can salvage it later.
Right. And I've always been into fitness, always been into taking classes. And I love New York City for that, because you could take a million different classes, and it's so fun and exciting. And now I try to on the road, right? I know you're on the road too a lot, and it's important to when you're traveling, it's it's not a vacation. I'm there for work, and being able to wake up early and get that workout, and it's super important, because I know later on in the day I might not have time.
Yeah, or the energy is,
exactly.
If you're back to back with meetings and appointments and those sort of things.
So I fit it in, and I try to showcase that as much as possible on my Instagram account. You might not see it, but I put it on my stories. And
so that's, I think, something that's interesting, because everyone has challenges when traveling, whether that's for business or even if you are traveling for vacation. Like sometimes it is okay to take some of the days off, but you do have to maintain that balance. Otherwise you're just playing catch up when you come back, or it becomes tough. So what do you try and do while traveling to?
I don't even obviously it's nice if the hotel has a great gym, but if it doesn't, you go for a run, find somewhere you could do, a few sit-ups, push-ups, make your own little mini workout, get inspiration online. I mean, there's so many amazing workouts and trainers who will, show like a 10-minute workout, and even 10 minutes. And granted, once you start 10, you'll finish and say, hey, I've had enough. Yeah. But most of the time you're going to keep going, because you feel 20 and it's about getting into it. It's about making the commitment to start. And then once you're there, like this morning, I was like, I don't want to be at the gym. I went, and then I had a solid workout.
Well, somebody once told me, you never hate that you went to the gym afterwards.
It's true. So I'm all about balance, and I try to, just incorporate it. And even though my brother travels for work too, doesn't do anything in like this realm of work, but he's traveling all the time, and it's just getting in there and
doing something, getting your blood flowing,
exactly,
and that sort of stuff. So when you look at going back to the food scene, and I think that there's been a heavy focus nowadays on foodies and those that really enjoy food. And this isn't a new phenomenon. I think just they've maybe been categorized now, or those that really enjoy food
with social media.
Yeah, exactly. And so what have you seen and noticed as kind of the evolution from when you started to maybe how accepted or widespread, actually the focus on food has become?
I think it's, for restaurants, like it's something they have to consider, what the dish looks like. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So, like how has it evolved?
I think it's also like more acceptable to stand on a table to get a shot.
That I have not done. Memes. So you're going aerial. All right.
But, even it's funny when we were traveling recently, and we stand out because we have like two video cameras and the mics, and people, they're aware of it. And I think it's like, it's more accepted. Like
Right.
everyone's a vlogger and a YouTuber, it's like, so I think it's more acceptable. And I think restaurants, I mean, I know so many who have benefited so much from social media. I mean, literally have restaurants actually in Vegas, like Black Tap went, wild, like from social media, so it really can make or break a place. So I think they are mostly accepting of it.
So do you find that people are making decisions of where to go because they've seen it on Instagram?
100%. Actually, when I was a teacher, my students would be like, "Oh my gosh, did you see?" And they didn't know what I did.
Yeah.
Which is really funny.
Oh no. Yeah.
They'd be like, "Oh, did you see that milkshake?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've had that." They're like, "What? You didn't have to wait in line? How long was the line?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I just skipped that line."
Yeah, don't you worry. They knew I was coming.
They had no idea. Yeah. It was super fun.
That's fun. So do you see, when you look at people making choices of where to eat based upon photos and people such as yourselves that make them look so good and wonderful, what are some of the hot spots or your favorites that one have, good looking food to photograph and then, that also actually tastes good?
Well, I know I mentioned this earlier, but Sweet Corner Bake Shop is one of those places that I do a lot of video work for, and it's amazing, and it just lives up to like what you see in the video. And then also I'm, that's so hard. I have so many favorites. Actually, like on a more like classic level, Via Carota's like pasta dishes are amazing, and like you just see the pasta dish, and I feel like people love pasta. Yeah. I mean, I do too.
Yeah. Well, it's always good.
Oh, and Clinton Street Baking Company, those pancakes. I could go on and on. I mean,
what type of pancakes are they?
Oh, chocolate chip. They have chocolate chip. They have blueberry and banana walnut, but I always go chocolate chip. Like actually yesterday I went and got the blueberry ones, which is they're known for, and they have a 2-hour wait in the weekends, and it's worth the hype. It's so worth the hype. The maple butter is like crack. I don't know what they put in it, but literally I could pour it on and eat it for days. It's one of those things that when I first moved into the city, I would go down there, put my name in, and you could walk around and they'll call you when it's ready. And it's like, it's just something like I've just always loved. And
Well, so when you look at New York City, there's so many great restaurants. There's restaurants that are coming and going all the time. I mean, it's part of the positive thing. And then sometimes when you have a good restaurant that goes, the sad thing. Yeah. Where are you seeing kind of the new restaurant scene move, in New York City?
I think a lot of fusion restaurants. I think a lot of restaurants are going more on like a casual basis, more like just like focusing on the environment and the experience, like we mentioned earlier. So I think, like I was saying earlier, the chef from Eggslut opening up like the casual like burgers and like it's just beautiful and open and light there. So I think you could really see everything. That's what's great about New York City. Yeah. You could really eat anywhere, and there's so many different places that, there's things that are trending, but like for the most part, I think as long as you have solid food and, bring in everything all together.
So where there's a lot of new up and coming areas. Brooklyn is constantly being thrown around. It's really evolved over the years, really becoming its own destination. We see it in my business where people now want to stay in Brooklyn and 100%. Actually never come into.
Well, I think the great thing on the hotel front too is like having a hotel in Brooklyn is almost more exciting because you get the view of the city. Like I love that. The one hotel in Brooklyn, like I'm obsessed. I mean, I stayed there for my birthday and it's just like, it's stunning. So you feel like you're getting that experience and you're a little bit further away. And then there's so many great restaurants right there.
So what would you recommend? Is maybe something down in Brooklyn or Dumbo or those sort of areas?
I mean, now with obviously I said time out with the one hotel and then head to time out and like you could just stay there for days.
This is the time out that's in Lisbon?
Time out. Yes, that time out market. Yeah. So I think it's just so many options.
And what's kind of unique there? What do you
at the market? Yeah, the one market. In New York.
Yeah, the one in New York.
I think there's so many amazing places that are well known in New York where you could all eat at one place now. So like for example, I was saying Clinton Street's there, Jacob's Pickles there, Ice and Vice, Bread's Bakery, best babka ever. I don't know if you had it.
No, I haven't, but going to have to.
You need to. It's an experience on its own. Go into a room and just eat that.
Go into a room, private room by yourself and pig out.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, so there's just so many great places. They also have, where There's so many things I like, can't even remember. There's literally a list, and I was overwhelmed when I walked in. And I made the mistake of going on a Sunday afternoon, but there's a rooftop with, like a bar. It's just
and views
huge.
Of the city, I'm sure.
And so you could basically, they give you a buzzer and you could go around and get a bunch of different things and then sit with a group of friends and eat all, a different thing and share everything.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds amazing.
You can't really do that anywhere else.
No.
I think actually now with the food halls, I think that's been really trending in New York City.
Really? You see them. And what's ironic is I actually was first introduced to the food halls abroad, like in Europe and stuff.
Right.
And then it was always, you can go to these areas. I was in one in Madrid, and you go and you can try 3-4 different things and come back, and everybody's picking like tapas style.
Right. And they have Box Park in London. I love
place is amazing.
I love it because I want to try everything. I think that's like
that's why,
it's like you want a little bite of everything. You don't want to feel like you missed out, especially when you're traveling. So that's why it's great.
So when you're traveling, have you ever gone to a place where you've maybe had some sketchy food and didn't sit so well, like any food poisoning or stories of that?
I actually haven't, and this is crazy, but me and my fiance went to Mexico City and he got sick and I didn't. Okay. And I think he ate something at the hotel.
We won't name them.
Yeah, but I felt so bad. And he was such a trooper. We went to Contramar after, and I was eating these tuna tostadas.
Contramar. Oh, dude, the tuna tostadas are amazing there.
Like literally,
so
and
good.
he is like sick, and he's such a trooper, literally filming me eat. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, this tuna tostada. Like literally ate all 4 of them, and this guy's like literally sitting there dying. But he was so nice.
I actually got food poisoning in Mexico City as well. I won't recognize. I won't reference the hotel.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was from the hotel.
But I mean, I loved Mexico City. It's so authentic, and there's so many great restaurants. But yeah, he got sick there. I haven't.
Well, that's lucky. Yeah, knock on wood.
Oh
so how did when you're traveling, how do you know where to go? Like obviously you're very tied within the scene.
Yes.
And you can leverage other influencers or locals.
100%.
Like what do you do? And let's say a normal person was traveling to London, how do I find out where to go?
I think there's so many great resources now. And I really do look to people who are experts. For example, like for when I go to London, looking at the influencers there and knowing who I can trust. And And on YouTube also. And for example, when we went to Rome, I asked a bunch of people who I know I could trust in that scene who were Italian and had the best recommendation. And that's where I got mine. And we had a hit list and they were all awesome. And then I pass it on and literally have people DMing me, hey, I just had the best meal. Thank you so much for recommending that. So I'd love to be able to, it's all about community. Right? That's why I started it. To be able to have a conversation with someone in another country and say, hey, what do you recommend? I'm coming by. Like I see you hit up all these restaurants, like what's your top 5? I'm only there for so long. And for them to give me a list and know that it's a trusted source in that area and they've, been there a few times and can recommend it, that means everything.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think is kind of ironic, and this just popped in my head. You're actually still teaching. You're teaching everyone like where to go, how to teach, and like actually impacting and changing their lives via, their culinary experiences.
Well, actually funny, full circle. I was like teaching a Sony class. And I was like, this is so weird. I'm like creating a lesson plan again. I never thought I'd be here.
She's back.
So
when you were teaching, and we go back to travel in a second. When you were teaching and kind of looking at that world, what made you step out of it? Because I know that education's a huge topic, everywhere, and it's something that candidly is probably neglected and not given enough attention or airtime. Right. What was kind of your experience as you looked to transition out of there?
Well, I think there was a number of things that happened at the beginning of the year. We had these meetings and there's all these teachers that got together. And one of them was just boasting about getting back into the school and being with the kids. And I just felt like something had shifted for me. And for me, I don't feel like it's fair because I really did love teaching. And I always knew I was going to be a high school math teacher since high school. I even student taught with my high school math teacher. Like it was just one of those things I had anticipated that would be the rest of my life. But then when she said that, I just like felt this like light bulb go off, like my passion has shifted.
But did you feel guilty about that your passion has shifted because you had devoted so much time, you'd say you
No, I think I didn't. And it's weird because I never like looked back. At this point, I don't feel like I regret anything. And I don't think that's just my mindset. I feel like everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And I've always, like I mentioned, been interested in food. And if you told me in high school, like, oh, you could do this for a living, I'd be like,
get paid to eat really good food all over the world.
Yeah. And I couldn't fathom it, So that was one of those things that happened at the beginning of the year. And then opportunities came up in the middle of the year, and I obviously respect my job as a teacher, and I'm not going to take off, to go to Australia,
travel the world and go do it
as much as I wanted to at that point. But I had to finish out the year, and I did, and I committed myself to, why I was there. And
so was it scary to kind of be like, hey, this has kind of been my life's work of what I was trying to do, and then now I'm going to pivot and go do.
You know what? I think I have a little bit of security, to be honest. Like there's like a 5-year window in which I could go back without having to take a test, and then so there's some flexibility there, I would say, but that's not really my mindset. I feel like in life, you got one, and I'm going to live it and do what I'm passionate about. And I feel like everything else will fall into place.
Right. And obviously it has.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. And you always hear those people talking like, you don't know where social media is going next. And at this point, we try to position ourselves like we're strong photographers, videographers. We're really passionate about what we do. We're always trying to learn. And I think that's what's really important. It's not just about social media for me. There's more.
Right. There's more substance to it than 100%. Just posting a cool photo on something.
Yeah. And I try to show it as much as possible because people, that's all they do see sometimes. Right. And it's like even friends, they might not see all the work that goes into it, and they see you on a trip. It's like, there's so much more, you know?
Speaking of that, because, when you look at social media channels, oftentimes it's a highlight reel of somebody's life, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, Jessica's life is so perfect. She just eats all these amazing meals and just goes from place to place eating. And you're like, I don't eat all day. Like, that's not what I do.
Yes, exactly.
And when you and I were chatting earlier, the amount of work that goes into the back end that candidly nobody really respects or understands.
Right.
What can you tell us about the work that goes into the background that actually, really makes the images and videos what they are and those sort of things, as opposed to, just traveling around and doing
100%. I think that the work I put hours on end on just one video. Sometimes it's like 30 seconds, but just going to film it, thinking about producing it and how it's going to look at the end and what story am I trying to tell and how does this relate to the restaurant? It could be, for example, we'll do a photo shoot for a restaurant and I might be there for 7 hours and then I'll edit for like 30, because I like to focus on video. I make more work for myself. I could totally post a photo and it might take me, a half hour to edit instead of 2 to 4 hours to edit a video. But for me, I think it tells a deeper story. You get to learn more, whether it be about the destination or the restaurant or the hotel. And that's a story I'm committed to tell. Right. So we always joke around, like it could be, it looks like I'm at the beach and I'm sitting in my hotel room editing,
like I'm here ordering room service editing.
So like it's kind of life. I try to showcase it as much as I can on my Instagram stories now, like showing, oh, hey, I'm editing this. It took like 2 hours. And like, this is kind of a little bit of the work that goes into it, just so like people kind of see
what actually is happening.
Yeah, I think it's important. So they see a little bit, and we try to do BTS, a little, so he'll film me kind of taking photos and stuff during our YouTube videos because I want people to see like,
here's what's going on.
Yeah, here's what's really going on.
Behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Behind the scenes of the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, there obviously, when you look at your photos, we've talked about the work that goes into it. There has to be times where, you're not having a good day or something didn't work out as planned, or maybe a piece of content you pushed out wasn't a home run that you thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
How do you as, a female, an entrepreneur, how do you handle those tough days? Because everyone just thinks every day's got to be perfect. Otherwise my day is kind of, my life's screwed up in comparison to say Jessica's. I mean, is there a way you stay motivated? You seem like a very positive person to kind of work through challenges that come your way.
I always think this too shall pass, right?
Yeah.
It's like, obviously not every post is going to kill it. And if something didn't do as well as I had anticipated, it's okay. I know like I put the hard work in and that's what matters to me, honestly. As long as I do my best, that's what I'm passionate about. Right. And I move on to the next thing, it's like, there's going to be another day. And then, sometimes I laugh at the things this won't do as well. And then I push it out and it kills
goes viral.
And it's all about timing too. And it's, obviously strategy is super important in our, in social media. I posted a video and it was dying right immediately. I took it down a month later, put it up, and like one of my highest videos. Really? So it's like, you have to like really just like be on top of all these things and learn, when's good, what's good. how to kind of grab people's attention.
Yeah. Do you ever get, I'm sure there's some negative commentary that comes by, or people that don't believe in it, or even to yourself, because it seems as though you put a lot of pressure on yourself and you're very self-motivated. Mm-hmm. Do you ever find it challenging to kind of accept that a video didn't do well, and kind of move on? Or have there ever been times where you've had critics that didn't support what you've said or done as far as the quality of your work?
I've been pretty lucky to say, like, for example, my followers are really pretty positive. I've only had one person point out once that they thought I was chewing too much on a video. I'll show it to you because I want to see that. I had to point it out in my stories because she was like, unfollow. I don't want to see you chewing.
This chick chews too much.
Yeah, I was like, how do you think I eat? And it was one of those things, and like people came to my rescue, and it was so funny. But like, I really have like a positive community.
No, that's amazing,
and I love them. And like literally, I feel like I know people in their like lives who like have been following me for years because they'll message me and I have conversations with them.
It's a community that you've built with them in relationships.
I think that's super important. But for the most part, I don't think there's been.
No, that's actually great to hear. So when you look at traveling, and you've now introduced room service as another area of your expertise. So why that? Why go into the room service side of things?
There's a few reasons. Because I think Cheat Day Eats has, I don't want to say like a lowbrow, but it's super casual. And for me, when we travel, I always love to like be able to hit up like more casual spots, the hole in the walls. But then I want to stay at like the luxury hotel. And that's what we do. So it was kind of like I wanted to showcase a little bit more of my personality and like what it means like when I travel. And also, I just feel like there's that story to tell, and so many hotels nowadays, and I'm sure you can agree, like have such great culinary programs. And I wanted to include it somehow into like the story that I was telling when I was going to a destination. I feel like I wanted to be able to bring in the hotel somehow. And I think that I woke up and we were getting room service and I was eating bacon in bed, and this is how it really started. And I was like, this is it. Like this is like another extension and something I was able to further my photography and not just have that close up, because my typical shot was like used to be like close up and personal. It still has that element to it. But being able to say like, hey, I'm going to take like a few steps back and take this like total different shot and be able to kind of incorporate a little bit more of the environment. So it was a number of things that kind of like that light bulb when I was eating bacon in bed, that like kind of started that.
So do you have like a favorite hotel or two that has amazing room service?
Well, we were in Bali. We did the flower bath, but they did a flower pool. And this is something that they give to everybody.
Only seen it on Instagram.
Yeah. And we jumped into it and see all the flowers like slow-moing out of the pool. I mean, but it was such a cool experience. And part of me wishes I could do it again because we were filming everything. And I just wish I could just like sit in it and be like
enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let me just have a couple minutes to myself.
Right. And I think that a lot of times I envy, like, I see things like the highlight reels in Bali, and I was like, is this place going to live up to the hype? And is the Aduya Spa, I believe the hotel. And this is something they offer for everybody. It's not just for Instagram, you know, and it was such a cool experience.
So do you see, kind of tying food experiences such as the flower bath or pool, do you see experiences really kind of being a focal point around travel within hotels and restaurants and everything else?
100%. I mean, I think that's what people are looking for nowadays. You don't want to just travel somewhere and walk around town. It's like you want to like look for those things that's going to really leave those big memories, and that's something I'll remember forever. And I love to pass that on because, anyone, like I said, anyone's can do it. I always think it's really funny too. Bali like totally monetizes off of like Instagram. They have like the Bali swings and stuff, but it's like super fun. And I think like I'm happy to recommend like, oh, this is a place that I went, and you really feel like you're getting a little bit more of an authentic experience. And different.
Do you see like brands gravitating towards participating, within those experiences and tying together between the hotels and food and maybe a fashion brand or something of that nature?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've done a bunch of press trips where there's kind of a little bit of tie-in in terms of like the hotel, the destination, the flight. And I think that with all of that, it kind of pulls everything into, so that way when I'm showcasing it to my audience, they're kind of feeling like they get a full picture of what they could experience too, and how they could literally take my itinerary and run with it too. Like we just did a trip where we were doing breweries and wineries, and that's not something I've ever had a focal focus point on. And it was cool to be like, wow, we're like in Orlando and there's these amazing breweries.
Yeah.
Like, it's like not something I would think of.
Funny,
I think of Disney World.
I actually shot some breweries in Orlando as well, which I never thought existed.
Yeah. So and I learned so much from the wineries there. And it's interesting when you go to sometimes an experience and you never expected that. So I love to pass that on.
So where do you want to go next? What's on the bucket list or the hit list? Somebody that's kind of traveled the world, continue to travel the world, experience some of the best restaurants, foods.
It's really tough. I wanna see what the hype's about for the Maldives.
Okay, yeah, we got to do that one.
Yeah, and Cape Town. I've never been to South Africa.
Been there either.
And then Israel. I want to go back. It's been 10 years, and
you want to go see it again.
I'm ready to go back. Yeah. But there's so many. It's so hard,
Where have been some of your favorite places that you visited?
Everywhere in Italy.
I'm seeing a pasta, carb loading theme here.
Switzerland was amazing. Yeah, we went to Gruyere, eating Gruyere and
amazing.
Gruyere. It was like
cheese.
But it was literally just absolutely stunning, the landscape there. And that was like one of those moments, like obviously I incorporate food in all my shots. So there was like a straight up landscape shot. I was like, this is stunning. This is all you need to see.
Focus on the landscape. Jessica's not in this photo. You're like, here it is.
Oh, Hawaii is beautiful. And I love that it's weird. You're like, you don't need a passport. It just
you don't feel like you're in the U.S.
And I would love to go back and do some of the other islands.
Which islands did you go to?
Oahu, Maui, and the Big Island. Okay. And I was actually a teacher at the time, so I had to fly back early and miss they did like a volcano thing. And I was like, I need to go back and experience it.
Oh, that's fun. So now when you have cheat day eats, what are you focused on now? What's the next big thing between your brands that you're looking to do?
We're really trying to push into the YouTube world. And, I had posted about this the other day that it's so hard to push into this new world where you feel like so many people are already so successful. But I'm going to listen to my own advice and just keep going. And I know that we're working hard at it and putting, the best videos that we can out. And I know we'll keep learning. And I'm excited about it though, because I want to be in front of the camera and do more stuff like that. So why don't I just start doing it?
Yeah, why not? You have the team to be able to do it.
Yeah, and I think, you probably know, it's like 5 years ago, I never imagined myself here, and I'm not sure where I'll be in 5 years, but I know I'm excited about the path and what it's going to take to get there.
Oh, no, that's great. Well, Jessica, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was an amazing
so
time. So great to hear your story, and obviously, definitely cue in on where to go eat. Yeah. And cheat days are always a good day.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.